Yeah, it just keeps dropping. It's not. We might have to just use a phone if we have to. Okay. It's on. Good morning again. Technical difficulties. Sometimes it just happens, and sometimes you just have to keep working on it. And we appreciate Jason being here to help us get through this. So I think we're connected, and I hope you can see me and you can hear me. And welcome to our March Shotsuki service here at Higashi Honganji. As I say all the time, and probably you've heard it way too often, it's hard to believe that we are now a year into the pandemic and a year into doing services virtually. I'm a very positive person, and I really thought that when we first started doing virtual services, that within a few months, or at the very latest by end of summer or early fall, we would be back to having everybody here at the temple. Unfortunately, it hasn't worked that way, but at the same time, there is that proverbial light at the end of the tunnel. People are getting vaccinated, and it seems like things have kind of settled down a little bit. So hopefully we can start having services here at the temple again in the not too distant future. I'm sure the Rinban will talk about this later, but as most of you know, the temple had a pretty interesting and I guess in many ways a bad experience a little over a week ago, with the vandalism. And as mentioned, I'm sure the Rinban is going to talk about that, so I'm not going to go get too deep into it. But I think it's often said that difficult roads can lead to beautiful destinations. And what I'm getting out of this is the outpouring of support that the temple has received, and the staff and the members, is just amazing. And so I do see a beautiful destination soon after we get through all of this. And we thank all of you for your support, for the monetary donations, especially Nikkei Progressives for setting up the GoFundMe page, and all the community partners who really stepped up and showed their support to the temple and to the community as well. So thank you for that. So now, I'm going to ask Reverend Fujii to read the names of the Shotsuki honorees.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to read Shotsuki list. Akimoto Jolene Mari-sama. Doi Yoshio-sama. This is his 7-year memorial. Fukuman Mitsuru-sama. Fukumoto Kenji-sama. Fukumoto Tomoe-sama. Fukunaga Chimi-sama. Funai Shou-sama. Hamaguchi Tsuyo-sama. Harada Henry Hiroyuki-sama. Higashi Yoshitaka-sama. Ichinose Fusae-sama. Imoto Yoshio-sama. Ishihara Toichi-sama. Kato Umekichi-sama. 川平千代菊様、川内ジョイスかすみ様、茅野レイ茂様、木下奈穂様、This is her 33-year memorial. 北畑愛子様、北畑源一郎様、北畑徳次郎様、北村和夫様、小坂光恵様、小山紀美子様、小西典弘様、国沢富子様、黒川静代様、増永文江様、三内久志様、水上聡様、森本 Y 様、森山哲様、中場ジョージ正和様。This is his 25-year memorial. 中場ミルドレッド春子様、中川美代子様、中村ゆさみ様、中村作治様、西永ロナルド義賢様、仁田尾秀子様、越智麻子様、大村ヘンリー圭介様、崎岡五郎様、崎岡正井様、佐々木貞夫様、スンダラクマラテリー雅子様、高野久一様、高田半左衛門様、高田与一様、滝川靖子様、辰巳博フランク様、渡辺ジャック三木様、山賀ヘンリー茂様、山本雅子様、吉上正道様、This is all for March Shotsuki. And if there is a mistake or a name I missed, please let Temple staff know. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Fujii. Now we are going to sing a gatha, How Sweetly the Lotus Grows. So hopefully you have the lyrics, and you can rise if you want to, you can stay seated if you want to, but we are going to sing How Sweetly the Lotus Grows. Yes, and now if you can participate in the Vandana Tisarana and the three treasures.
Difficult is it to receive life in human form, now we are living it. Difficult is it to hear the Buddha Dharma, now we hear it. If we do not receive awakening in the present life, then in what life can we hope to receive it? Let us reverently take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in the Buddha. May we, together as one, begin on the great path of enlightenment, holding in our hearts the supreme aspiration. I take refuge in the Dharma. May we, together as one, enter the storehouse of the Dharma and attain true wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in the Sangha. May we, together as one, uniting in harmony, strive to live for the enlightenment of all beings. The incomparable, deep, and profound Dharma is difficult to encounter, even through countless ages of kalpas. Now we are privileged to hear and receive it. Let us endeavor to thoroughly understand the true meaning of the Buddha Dharma. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu.
Now we will have the chanting of the Shoshinge.
本心如来偶然願仏言古大正芸者税人名踏んだりけ弥陀部本願念部邪見教幕修上信行十字人に南中止南昔インド祭天使論芸中華自治域史構想現代諸公聖書医療如来本税をき釈迦如来両河線一種五行南天竺龍十大寺出頭世真の財派有無権先世大乗無情報召喚議事小安楽賢治南行六六信行異行指導楽億年二打部本願次年即時入場唯の上昇如来語大非偶税本天人菩薩造論世奇妙無下公如来永州たら謙信寺光線王朝大聖願こういう本願力栄光異道群上昇一心異入独大法界一逆入大へ収集特使蓮華造世界即昇進如昇進有本の人間人図入生寺恩寺王芸恩寺鈍乱両天使上皇乱消防祭三蔵ルシ十条教文章専業規約法天人菩薩論中芸行動因果見世願大芸へこういう他力少女心唯心人漠然本部新人法承知生じ即涅槃必死無量光明道小修上回復系同社結晶道南省唯名浄土活入万全自力変言修円満特合感染症三部三神慶音言相馬法明道品一生増口偶税思案了解称名化三道不明不祥意行為上三行逆悪公明名語経因年介入本願大智慧幼者小樹今後心狂気一年相互用意大東逆三人即小小四上楽遠心公開一大教返帰安女会一切三蔵小心半三人法家利用小弁流国十悪人優勝部化薬剤非摂取中煩悩証言水不見大非無限上昇が本次元空 来生じ因縁下血義上一生し即入弱上無意楽一新人非納入仏教大事修士と共済無変極辱悪同族自主無道心不意化
Thank you. Now we have children's Dharma story time, and Mrs. Kathy Ikeda will be sharing a story with all of us today. Take it away, Kathy.
Good morning and welcome to Dharma School Storytime. The story that we're going to read today is called The Kindness Book by Good morning and welcome to Dharma School Storytime. The story that we're going to read today is called The Kindness Book by Todd Parr. I know that you do many kind things, and people do kind things for you too. Let's see if some of those kind things might be in this book. The Kindness Book by Todd Parr. What is kindness? Kindness is thinking about people's feelings and helping them feel good. Being kind makes you feel good too. Kindness is reading a bedtime story to someone you love. Kindness is taking care of your community. Kindness is holding the door open for someone. Kindness is listening. Kindness is keeping others safe. Kindness is free. Kindness is watching out for someone around you. Kindness is holding hands. Kindness is being there when someone needs you. Kindness is taking care of yourself. Kindness is helping things grow. Kindness is saying something nice. Thank you for being my teacher. Kindness is not hurting someone's feelings. Ha 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 ha. Your hair looks funny. Kindness is saying sorry. We're sorry. Let's be friends. Be kind to yourself. Kindness is remembering everyone's feelings are important. Kindness is welcoming someone new to the family. Kind is giving a bug a hug. Kindness is saying hello to someone new. Pluck, hello. Kindness is saying thank you to those who help others. Kindness is being nice to animals. Kindness is letting others be who they are. Kindness is cheering someone up when they are sad. It's easy to be kind. There are many ways to be kind. Don't forget to be kind to yourself. The end. I'm sure there are many things that you do that were not in this story. So every night before you go to bed, think of 3 ways you have been kind to someone and 3 ways that someone has been kind to you. Well, I hope you enjoyed the story of the Kindness Book, and we'll see you next time. Be kind.
Thank you, Kathy. Wonderful story about kindness and something we all can use. And so thank you for sharing that. You know, these children's stories or the Dharma story time, you know, these messages are often are so powerful and so positive that it's not only for children, obviously, it's for all of us adults too. So thank you for that. Next, we will have the Rinban deliver his Dharma talk. Rinban Ito.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for our March Shotsuki Memorial Service. As our chairperson mentioned at the beginning, we're almost 1 year, well, it's almost a whole year has passed since we started streaming our services. Today is March 8th, and that was it was March 8th of last year that we had the final service with all of you here. Today, as Shin mentioned, Kathy's Dharma school message was so nice, especially at a time like this. I think we need to be reminded to be kind to each other and to, appreciate the kindnesses that we receive from others. As all of you know by now, on Thursday, February 25th, around 7 o'clock, a man climbed over the front fence and burned down the 2 wooden lantern stands that were attached to the pillars at the top of the stairs, toppled over the 2 brass lanterns on both sides of the foot of the stairs coming up to the entrance, and then threw a rock to shatter the large glass panel at the front of the temple next to the front doors. Because of the increase in what have been identified as hate crimes against Asians and Asian Americans on both the East and West Coasts, we received media coverage that went out far beyond Los Angeles. From the next day, we had both print and TV media converge here to find out what had happened and to let all of the United States and even Japan know about the incident that we suffered. Also, as you probably know, a group of friends of the organization called Nikkei Progressives opened up a GoFundMe account with a target of $30,000. And yesterday when I looked, it was up to nearly $84,000. That fund drive apparently will end today or tomorrow, I believe. What has been so amazing, as Shin mentioned, is the outpouring of support that we've received from far and near, from so many members, but also from so many people out there who felt a connection to our temple. So out of the ashes, so to speak, this wonderful feeling of the concern for our welfare was simply overwhelming. We had a nice Zoom meeting where I think over 60 people joined this past Thursday, and we were able to talk about the pain that we felt being violated like we were, and more importantly, to think about the next steps. Although ours was the most visible, there were other incidents before and after what happened here, like at the entrance to the Go for Broke organization, who are currently in the old Higashi Honganji building adjacent to the Japanese American National Museum. Also, there was an incident at our next door neighbor, Miyako Gardens. As I mentioned earlier, we do not know the motive of the subject. We do not know if it was for such reasons as a dislike of Asians in our culture, and we may never know what his motivation was. Over maybe 4 days of being interviewed, someone asked me if the culprit were to be arrested, would we press charges? I said that it would be a decision of our board of directors, but I personally would not do that. Would you forgive him? I said I would, and if he is caught, I would hope that he would get some help to overcome hateful feelings towards others, if that was his motivation. Buddhism reminds us of the 3 poisons that we all are afflicted by in our everyday lives. greed, anger, and ignorance. And one of my colleagues, Reverend Ron Kubata, changed that to greed, anger, and stupidity, because it would be easier to remember, because it would be the three letters GAS. And so we're all afflicted with gas. One of the most common feelings or the reactions that we have in everyday life is anger. I have to say, when I first heard from Reverend Fujii about what was happening or what happened that night, my immediate natural response was anger and also pain. Why would someone do something like that? But quickly, that natural reaction turned more to concern and to thinking about the necessary repairs that we would have to do and how we would react to what happened. Susan asked me what I was going to talk about today, and so I shared a quote from the larger sutra, the Buddha of Immeasurable Life, what is called the Daimuryo-jikyo in Japanese. And this sutra, as you know, is the foundation of our Pure Land or Jodo Shinshu tradition, and then also a quote from Shinran Shonin. In the larger sutra, which is the basis of our teaching, there is a passage that basically says, the ideal is to create a world in which weapons are unnecessary. What this is implying is that as long as the people and countries of the world find it necessary to have weapons, there can be no such thing as true peace. The other quote was from Shinran Shonin in his major work, the Kyogyo Shinsho, the collection of passages expounding the true teaching, living, faith, and realizing of the Pure Land. In this work, he encourages us to realize or to bring about a society of dobo, a society or world of friends respecting each other, living together in true harmony. So our immediate reaction of anger and pain needs to be redirected to help to create both a peaceful world where conflicts subside and a world where there is no need to threaten others or to protect ourselves with weapons. And once we have repaired the damages and improved our security measures, put in more lights so that the property can be better lit and seen and so forth. But the next and just as important a goal is to support those who are or who have been victims of crime and work to bring true and lasting harmony in our communities, our country, and eventually the entire world. I think that you might think that I'm dreaming. There's no way that we can make that happen, and you're probably right, at least not in my lifetime. But we're not expected to change the entire country or the entire world. We start with our friends, our co-workers, our family, and one by one it expands. When I think of Shakyamuni Buddha, he was born, as you know, as a crown prince, destined to become the next king of his country. But I surmise that he realized somewhere along, after seeing the suffering of the common people, maybe as king he could share the wealth of the palace so that people could enjoy life better. But that's kind of a temporary help. And the true and lasting change, he realized, comes about when one individual changes and is able to influence another individual to change. One hears the teaching of the Buddha, shares it with another, and one by one the world changes, albeit slowly but surely. Earlier I mentioned that I was asked to represent the temple in so many interviews, and I've also received so many emails that I lost count, and I've received many calls also. One which I treasured was a call from my good friend, the Reverend Dr. Jim Fredericks. He is one of my best Catholic friends who has studied Buddhism, especially Jodo Shinshu, to the extent that he was teaching Buddhism before he retired from Loyola Marymount University a few years ago. He was the one who put me on the list to be one of the 30 Buddhist reps going to and participating in a Buddhist Catholic dialogue conference at the Vatican in 2015. He's now living a quiet life in Sonoma, where he's originally from, and serves at the local parish there. He called me a couple of days after the incident, and he reminded me of the story of Pope John Paul II. Some of you may remember it. In May of 1981, a Turkish citizen, Mehmet Ali Agca, shot and wounded the Pope in St. Peter's Square at the Vatican. Agca was captured immediately and was sentenced to life in prison. The Pope forgave Agca for his attempt to kill him and eventually persuaded the Italian president to pardon him and to return him to Turkey 9 years later. Pope John Paul also met with Agca's mother and also his brother, and the two of them stayed in touch until the Pope's passing. I think that is a wonderful example of how we might react to what happened at our temple. I sometimes share portions of Father Jim's homilies, and homilies are, if you don't know, the Christian word that is used to indicate sermon. And he often he actually sends them to me all the time, sends them to all of his friends. And today, I thought that I would have him speak to you through me. Please disregard the portions where he praises me because he just wanted to be nice. But this is the talk that he will be giving at his parish, maybe right now. See, they always begin by quoting a section from the Bible, and then later gives his impressions on the reading. So this is the second part where he goes into the interpretations of that reading. So it goes like this. There's a beautiful Buddhist temple at the corner of 3rd and Central in the Little Tokyo district of Los Angeles. The architecture pays homage to the venerable traditions of Buddhist temples in Japan. The roof slopes gracefully into the blue sky. There is a garden in front with pine trees that have been carefully sculpted by skilled and loving hands. Higashi Honganji was founded by immigrants from Japan and their children over 100 years ago. Over all these years, people have gathered at Higashi to learn about the Buddhist vow of compassion for all sentient beings and to help one another in putting the Buddha's vow of compassion into practice for the benefit of all who are suffering in this difficult world. The Buddha taught that we suffer because we are blinded by our ignorance. Suffering will subside when we begin to see the world with the eyes of compassion and wisdom instead of the eyes of our crazed egos. As a Christian, I believe that this is an excellent teaching. Over the years, the people of Higashi Honganji have given much service to the local community. Temple members have been involved in building housing for the elderly and programs for kids. The people of Higashi have given leadership in any number of community cultural projects in Little Tokyo. The temple even sponsors a taiko group. I hope you are familiar with Japanese drumming. The people at Higashi are also trying to accompany the sizable homeless community that borders the temple as they try to find their way along the difficult path of substance abuse, mental illness, and most of all, abandonment. I can speak with authority about the people of Higashi Honganji. They've been a blessing to me for many years. Higashi and his people have taught me wonderful things about Buddhism. In their own skillful way, they have taught me wonderful things about my own Christian faith as well. For this, I am filled with gratitude. With all of this in mind, I regret to say that Higashi was vandalized on the evening of the 25th of February. Decorative lanterns were toppled on the front steps, and then a rock was thrown through a plate glass window. Apparently, there was some initial speculation that a homeless person may have done the damage to the temple, but I never thought this. Not for a moment did I think this. The homeless people who live in the area are quiet and keep them to themselves. Moreover, the security camera shows a young man who was well-kept and determined to do damage. He had to scale a high fence to gain entrance to the property. Was the vandalism a hate crime? Things are beginning to look this way. LAPD is investigating. I hope you are aware that there has been a horrific increase in incidents of intimidation, harassment, and even violence against people of Asian and Pacific Island descent here in the United States since the coming of the COVID-19 pandemic. The temple's Rinban bishop is the Reverend Noriaki Ito. Nori and I are old friends. We went to Rome about 6 years ago to meet the Pope. I remember distinctly, with much feeling in my heart, the day that Nori presented Pope Francis with a gift from the people of Higashi. I was so happy to see this. That day in Rome, Pope Francis looked at Nori and I should say a few other friends, and said something that took me a little off guard. He said, "Questo è salutare." This is healthy. It is healthy for people of different faiths to come together and learn from one another. It is healthy for people who follow different religious paths to share their faith and wisdom. Most of all, it is healthy for us to become friends and to discover how we can be a blessing to one another. All this is healthy because by becoming friends, we can be a blessing to one another. We can begin to see how we might be able to, or might be a blessing to the world. By meeting people like my friend Nori, Pope Francis has come to understand that the gospel calls Christians to be passionate about meeting others, seeking points of contact, and building bridges. This is because implanted deep within us is the call to transcend ourselves through an encounter with others. He wrote this in his last encyclical. Our friends at Higashi Honganji have their way, a Buddhist way, of course, of affirming these same values. There are so many people these days who seem intent on burning bridges. We need to find ways of resisting this folly. As I write these words Saturday, Pope Francis is in Iraq greeting Ali al-Sistani, the Grand Ayatollah of the Shiite Muslim people of that country that has known so much suffering. The Pope will give the Ayatollah a gift just as Nori gave Pope Francis a gift. Formal greetings and diplomatic statements will be made. Hopefully, a friendship will begin to grow. Take it from Nori and me, friendships require a long time to grow. We must learn how to be patient, but let no one be confused. Time is on our side. The gospel today is about the violation of a temple. The temple in Jerusalem was the center of the universe for the Jewish people of Jesus. Jesus' day. It was the great sign of God's faithful presence among his people. It was also defiled by the commercial logic, human greed, and the exploitation of the poor. As a Buddhist, Nori will be little taken aback that Jesus made a whip out of cords and drove them all out of the temple area with the sheep and oxen, and spilled the coins of the money changers and overturned their tables. He will be taken aback even further by the first reading. But this only means that Nori and I have more to discuss the next time I sit in his office at Higashi and drink a cup of his excellent ocha, green tea. For now, in regard to today's gospel, let me say that there are many ways to violate temple besides commercializing it. You can violate a temple by climbing the fence, toppling the lanterns, and throwing a rock through the pane glass window. Let me also say that there are multiple ways of repairing the damage to our holy places. Nori has some ideas to share about this. In response to the vandalism, the Reverend Noriaki Ito, the Rinban of Higashi Honganji, and my wonderful friend has said, we will work to repair the damage and to restore the temple, but we need to repair the damage to ourselves as well. Of course, holy places are not made out of wood or stone, they are made out of people. Then Nori added words that impressed me greatly. As a Buddhist temple, we need to be part of the solution. We should be grateful to the Rinban and all the people of Higashi Honganji. Let us join them in becoming part of the solution. And then the last part is instructions for Lectio Divina, which means, lessons for how we should proceed. He says, I suggest that you use the readings and my reflections as an opportunity for practicing Lectio Divina, or divine reading. This is an ancient spiritual practice that started with the great monks in the Syrian and Egyptian desert back in the early days of the church. It is really quite simple. Step 1, calm your mind. In parentheses, my Buddhist friends describe the mind as a mango tree full of chattering monkeys. I find that paying attention to your breath for a few minutes is practical and effective. It is a practical and effective way to do this. Step 2, read the teaching slowly and attentively. Savor words as if you were tasting a great Pinot Noir. Don't rush. You are not looking for information or instructions. You are making friends with the sacred text, which will bless you abundantly if you will only open your heart to it and let it speak to you. In Lectio Divina, we are not actually reading the Bible, rather we are listening to the Bible as the sacred words speak to us. So this is the extent of Reverend Jim Frederick's talk. And I would add that, by the way, this is what we say also, to remember the importance of listening to the Dharma, whether you hear it with your ears or read it with your eyes. Today, I thank Reverend Jim Fredericks for the wonderful homily that he created and was to share with his people. And I think that it was wonderful for us to be able to listen to it too. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Rinban. The example of Reverend Jim is something that obviously is important, but it's also not a reminder, but it also is a part of this whole the bigger picture where not only Reverend Jim but so many people have shown support to the temple, to the staff, and to its members, and so that's greatly appreciated. Next, let's see. Actually, we have some announcements, and for those of you who want to listen and speak Japanese, and maybe even if you don't speak Japanese, we do have a Japanese Dharma talk by Reverend Hasegawa coming up. I think the Rinban did mention that the GoFundMe fundraising, thing is going on for, it could be another day or two, but you can check it out on the Higashi Honganji Facebook page and Instagram page, and also sort of keep if you look at some of the comments in the especially on the Instagram page, it's really heartwarming to see people who, as the Rinban mentioned, many of them have no real direct connection to the temple, but they just also felt this sense of loss. And so it's wonderful to again to hear, to read and sort of understand what other people are feeling who aren't really that directly connected to the temple, but have a connection to maybe Little Tokyo, or just have a connection to, or they just felt something when they heard the story. So thank you to all of them. Let's see. We do want to do Ondok-san now before we go into the Japanese Dharma talk. And so if you can all participate and like join in singing of Ondok-san.